Hey neighbor, welcome back to another lovely episode of I Got It Wrong on ARTV. My name is John and I'm not happy. Now, why would I not be happy? Why on God's green earth am I not happy? Well, let me tell you. The year is 2012. I've just posted a review of the debut album Night Visions by the pop rock band Imagine Dragons. My hair is shaggier than it has any right to be, and I spend less than 5 minutes talking about a blockbuster release and barely describe anything and just list favorites and least favorite tracks. It's the status quo for all of my early material that I can't even look back at this point without cringing. Now, the problem here is that one of my worst reviews that I've ever done is also one of my most popular reviews that I've ever done in terms of views. Over 115,000 views. Thank you so much, YouTube, for recommending this over the content that I actually work hard on. I Got It Wrong is a title that suits this album so well on so many different levels, with the primary one being my own personal hatred for my old review, but, a big but here, my opinions have also evolved a lot, so let's take a step back in time to look at the blockbuster debut album Night Visions that served as the launching pad for the career of Imagine Dragons.
Now, lyrically and just the way they sound, some of the songs just sound like, like this isn't very original.
If you've been watching this show, I Got It Wrong, for really any amount of time, then you know that I know that my old videos are ass. Like, slap a cringe sticker on any of them and I'm probably not gonna disagree with you, but I'd like to know, what did older me think of Night Visions? Because I felt going back into this re-review that I was gonna have some sort of nostalgia overload. Like, wow, what a better time in life. I was so innocent. I was like 19 or 20 years old when this landed. I'm gonna have some rose-colored glasses. No, not exactly, but let's see what old me said.
Sorry, I don't have too much to say about this album because it's just not that exciting. There's some new sounds that are boldly tried on Radioactive. It's Time has the stomp clap thing along with the guitar and some nice beats. Now, if they could make more songs that would be along that vein right there, I feel like this album would have been better.
Even back then, I didn't quite know what to make of this band that was just exploding in popularity. I mean, I thought they were inescapable in 2012, but little did I know that we had just struck the tip of the iceberg. They just kept on pushing, and at this point in my life, I can admit, I had some good times with the rather overproduced anthemic pop rock sound of their debut, and even their better follow-up album, Smoke and Mirrors, which I still stand by as their best work. However, something that I still agree with my older self on is the fact that I never really saw them as groundbreaking, except there's one major disagreement that me and older me have, and it's on the song Radioactive.
But the production, the way he infused the indie sounds with the pounding beat, it just sounds so amazing in the background. And honestly, this song is the best fusion I've ever heard of hip-hop and indie rock.
Listen, I like Radioactive. I really do. Is it my favorite song on the album? No, I think Amsterdam and Hear Me definitely make a case for those, but I still feel this song, at least on some level. But to call it the best fusion of indie rock and hip-hop that I've ever heard? Insert question marks here? Oh, young naive John, it's so fun to go back and see you with just your wide-eyed, I haven't heard too much of anything, and in a way, I envy that. I envy the people who were able to look at it that way, but now, at this point in my life, this record Night Visions sounds so incredibly dated. I listen to the synth melodies, the fact that they just squeal in the background of half of these tracks, the bad mixing and mastering, the overproduced beats that come in from Alex the Kid and just stomp their way in the background of too many of these tracks. Yes, there is infectiousness to these tunes, and I can understand why they blew up on the backs of not only Radioactive, but also Demons, On Top of the World, It's Time. They are catchy, but they are commercial core catchy. Night Visions takes it to the bank and slam dunks on these little repetitive riffs, these slamming drums that might feel big at least for a moment, but if you were to single them out and isolate them in the mix, it would just feel kind of clunky, and that's how I feel about so much of this record. Try as I may, try as I might, I have just never been able to love Dan Reynolds as a frontman. In fact, he can get very irritating very quickly. Now, I don't think that Night Visions had all of the bad qualities that I guess I've seen manifest in later years and later album cycles, but there are still a lot of annoying aspects to it. I do think that they improved those sounds on Smoke and Mirrors, but then they were like, that album didn't do as well as Night Visions, so they went back to basics and just started pandering to everybody and anybody on future albums like Evolve. Now, Night Visions itself, it definitely has a lot of those very simple guitars, the hand claps, the whistles, the doo-doo-doo styled vocals in the background. We're so quirky and peppy and we're relating to you and we're really putting our heart out there, except we're only regurgitating cliches that you've already heard a million times over, and that's what makes it so damn frustrating to go back to now. Pulling in so many different directions while trying to keep it in the same ship is definitely something that makes this album sink. I think that it does stay afloat for the first little bit because Radioactive is a solid-ass opener. It is very catchy and themic. It does sound dated, but in a good kind of way. I can still have fun with it, and I can see why. It elevates people. It's a good workout song to run to, whatever. And then we move through Tiptoe, which is a little bit too synth-friendly with its cadences there, but it's not bad by any means, and I think that it has a good enough hook on it. The guitars are nice and spry in the background, but we start to really move into the problematic sections with Demons as we go through that, and On Top of the World, this is the commercial core kicking in big time. It also doesn't help that more than half of the songs on the standard edition of Night Visions were already released on some of the EPs like Continued Silence leading up to that debut album, and I don't think too many people would disagree with me when I say that those are some of the best tracks on the record. I mean, are too many people running to Underdog as their favorite song? I hope not. Those pitching synths can go rot in a hole. Night Visions quickly runs out of steam and starts hitting brick walls left and right, just toppling over on top of itself because they've copy and pasted other people's ideas, things that they think are working for them, but they continue to replicate them, and it just burns itself out on monotony. Now, there's good sections to this record. There's songs that I do like. I think the first two were strong enough, Radioactive and Tiptoe, and then we get another back-to-back combo of Amsterdam and Hear Me, the latter of those having one of Dan's better vocal performances on the entire record, and Amsterdam just being well performed all around. I feel that it opened a lot of doors for them. In fact, it's one of my favorite Imagine Dragons tracks. The only problem is that these are twofers coming back-to-back, sandwiched in there, and the rest of the record, we're just wandering around aimlessly listening to these songs that feel like they could be so indifferent they wouldn't hurt a fly, but they're also too boring to give a damn about. I feel no emotion, connection, or empathy when I listen to a song like Bleeding Out that just continues to spill itself, except it doesn't feel authentic, and then something like Every Night is so asinine, it's painful. It just continues to repeat and repeat. Every night, every night, every night, and it goes quite literally nowhere. But then taking the cake on top of it all is their attempt at a long, bold statement to close out the record, nothing left to say, and then of course the hidden track rocks. It's nearly 9 minutes of nothing. They ride out this beat at the end, and instead of actually progressing or capping it off with a big, energetic finale, it just kind of fades away, and then we get another forgettable hidden song that I couldn't be bothered to care about at all. Do I think that Dan Reynolds, Wayne Sermon, Daniel Platzman, and Ben McKee got together and said, let's make one of the best records of the 2010, let's blow everybody's mind? No, I don't think that's what they were gunning for. I think that they knew the hand that they were dealing, and it played out well. It played to their advantage. It got them huge crowds because they play to that universal note.
As for me, I give the album a 3 out of 5.
I think I was just expecting more from maybe a nostalgia perspective, or really anything from Night Visions and their early material, but this one certainly didn't work out for me. It's not the worst thing that I've gone back to and regretted a whole lot, but even now, I cannot give this any more than a light 2 out of 5. If you're a fan of Imagine Dragons or this debut album Night Visions, then feel free to let me know your perspective in the comments section, or feel free to let me know why it didn't age well for you. Other than that, you can catch another Imagine Dragons review from me right over here, or tap here for another episode of I Got It Wrong. All of my socials can be found linked in the description down below, and I'll see you soon for more right here on ARTV.